Welcome to the Show. I'm Steve Moriarty, your host. Sorry we had a little technical issue there. It kind of delayed us for a minute. But I'm here with my two sons, Michael, who's in charge of production, and Jeffrey, who is our moderator for chat. So if you guys could say hello to the audience.
Hi everybody, this is Jeff. I'm going to be here. If you have any questions, thanks for the patience before. But if you have any questions, there's a little chat function on the right-hand side. You can ask any questions that you may have throughout the show, and we'll make sure that Steve answers that for you.
All right, so this is the replacements for something we do in store due to the current situation. We do gemstone roundtables. Where we have 15 people around a table and we pass around different gems and discuss them, and educational as well as an opportunity to buy. So tonight we're going to show you at least 15 different stones, some of the best material we have, things that I've cut during our time off here while we're closed, and some of the things that we bought in Tucson recently. The Tucson Gemshow was early February, and so we were lucky that we actually got through that before this coronavirus. And we did have a very successful show, and you'll see some of that material here tonight. To start with, we're going to start with an ametrine. Ametrine is something I've dealt with for all my time in business, which is about 40 years. I've been cutting for about 30 years, and this is a stone I cut recently. This ametrine is from Bolivia. It weighs 26 carats, so it's a nice sized stone. And this stone is special just for a few reasons. Its intensity of color, you can see the deep purple and the deep yellow of the citrine. So this is amethyst and citrine in one stone, natural material that's mined in Bolivia. Here's a natural crystal. This is one from that mine. You can kind of see the yellow within the crystal itself. They're kind of intermixed. And when I buy rough, fortunately, they preform it at the mines. And this is a rough preform because dealing with the crystal is very difficult, trying to get the color separation out of it. And I'm just glad I don't have to deal with that. So this particular stone weighs 26.68 carats, has an appraised value of $2,660, and our price on it is $1,190. Now, all the stones you're going to see tonight, when you go online to MoreGems.com, you're going to find the stone there. And if you use the coupon code GEMSLIVE, you're going to get an extra 15% off that for this showing. So really a beautiful stone. Probably one of the best I've ever cut. This is a little different style in the cutting. Typically we do these in emerald cuts to accent that color separation. I've added a few facets to this which make it a little more brilliant. And on to the next stone. This is a blue zircon. Well, I was going to tell you something about this, though. In bicolors, we have several bicolors on the site. Bicolors are typically rare. The ametrine is probably the most available of any of the bicolored stones. But this is bicolor tourmaline. Tourmaline is probably one of the stones we're more used to finding as a bicolor. It's still rare. Right now we're finding some material that's coming out of Nigeria. But when these crystals form, in the case of the tourmaline, they grow off the wall of a vacant cavity in the ground, and the liquid that's in the cavity, or gas, whichever it is, will start crystallizing out, and the stone will start growing. And as it moves up, the chemicals that are in the solution, you'll generally find a mineral that will cause the color. So one mineral is going to cause the pink in the stone, and as it grows, it's going to change and it's going to turn to green. So the crystal is growing, and finally at the tip here where it's green. So that's typically how they form. The ametrine's a little different because the color is all mixed in there. I assume as the crystal is growing wider, the color's changing because it's kind of patchy color in the case of the ametrine. We have a few other bicolors on the website that are quite rare. The one that we got in Oregon is an Oregon sunstone. I'd never seen a bicolor Oregon sunstone. It's much like the tourmaline I just showed you. It's red and green. So that's a stone we got from a recent trip. Me and Michael and my two sons went to Oregon to go mining. So that's on our website. And one other that is really rare, because I've never seen it before, is a bicolor Tanzanite. The Tanzanite is blue and yellow, and it's the first time I've ever had material like this. So that's on TanzaniteJewelryDesigns.com. Looks like we have your question. So Jeffrey, what's the question?
Yeah, so you just brought up the point about the Tanzanite that you have that's bicolor. There was a question about one of the viewers had saw that and just wanted to know if you could talk a little bit more about how that happened and why it's so rare for Tanzanite.
Wish I had the answer to that. How it happened, I assume it's the same situation as the tourmaline. Here's a Tanzanite crystal. Get it away from my blue shirt here. So the Tanzanite crystal, again, it will start growing from here and will grow over time up to the tip of the stone. So it is possible that things changed, but Tanzanite, it has two colors in it, or three colors in the rough, blue, purple, and yellow. So I am not exactly sure how that happens. And anytime you get something, it's the first time you've ever seen it, it is hard to have the knowledge that as to how it did form, because there's so little of it and nobody's really seen the material. So hopefully sometime in the future, if there's more of this material, we'll get an answer to that question. I really don't have it at the moment. I know they're unheated. Don't know what would happen to it when you heat it. Typically the yellow goes away, and we won't be heating that stone to find out, but it's an interesting question, and hopefully we'll know in the future. Thanks for the question, but I prefer questions I can answer. Which I can answer most of them, so bring on any question. So the next stone is a blue zircon. Blue zircon is a stone we do very, very well with. It's popular because it has such extraordinary brilliance. Zircon has a very high refractive index. The refractive index is really what determines brilliance. Diamond also has high refractive index, even higher than the zircon. But this high refractive index is what gives zircon its diamond-like brilliance. And that's why the stone has been so popular, is this brilliance and the beautiful color. I mean, it's a slightly greenish blue color that's different than most other stones that you run across, blue topaz, and which is also blue, but it doesn't have that greenish tone to it. Occasionally you'll see aquas that have the greenish tone. The aquas can be very popular when they're a seafoam color. Aqua typically has green in it. We generally drive the green off by heating to give it just a straight blue color. But the green that's in the blue zircons really is an attractive addition to the beauty of the stone. So It's interesting. The rough of this material is actually dark brown. This is actually blue zircon rough. This material comes from Kampuchea, formerly Cambodia. So the finest of the material is from Cambodia, now Kampuchea. Right now there's fairly good production, but getting the really deep colors like this stone has is very difficult. This particular stone has an appraised value of $4,930. We have it for $2,290, and again, putting your code in to when you purchase Gems Live will give you an extra 15% off this. And just one comment on how we determine this appraised price. We use the Gem Guide. The Gem Guide is a market-driven, independent pricing guide that's done by Richard Drucker. This has been around for a long time, and it's a guide that most people that do appraisals on color gems use this. It's used worldwide. And what they do is they go to the shows, like the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, and actually shop for colored gems, and that's how they determine the prices in this guide. They give you an idea of what a normal markup would be, and this is the number that we give you as an appraised price. So it's based on this, not just on some number we made up.
Hey, Steve.
Uh-huh.
They want to know. They want to see you putting it on your hand for size perceptions.
Oh, okay.
These stones.
Sorry, this is the first time we've done this, so it's going to take a while to get used to it. And we hope to do this weekly. Yeah, not the. Oop. So I don't know if that. Not the best way to show this. So if that gives you a perspective of it. But it weighs 8 karat 21. So beautiful stone, well worth owning. And you can buy it on MoreGems.com today and get an extra 15% off. So our next stone is another zircon. It's one that I've dealt with for the last probably 15 years. Before that, I really didn't see the material. There's two good sources of this material. Tanzania is one from the Tanga region, and the other, as this stone, is from Mozambique. The reason it's called Imperial is because it relates it to Imperial topaz, which has much the same look as this. Very similar color to Imperial topaz. So we like to relate stones to something more valuable or more expensive. In this case, Imperial topaz of this size would be somewhere in the 2,000 a carat or more, as compared to 150 or 170, whatever this figures out to be. So not only does this have the beautiful brilliance of Imperial zircon, of a zircon, it just has this beautiful peach color, one of my favorite colors. It's a really, really beautiful stone. This is a stone I cut a couple of times. I started this out as an opposed bar, which we'll see some opposed bars later. But it just didn't quite work out, and so I recut it to this cut and really came out to be a beautiful stone. This is a Barian-style emerald cut. You know, there's a lot of confusion with the name zircon. A lot of people want to relate it to cubic zirconia, you know, but this is a natural gem that's mined, you know, and this was mined in Mozambique. So here's a piece of the rough. So you can see the nice peach color, and this will cut a stone probably 5-6 carat also. The next stone is a match pair of Morganites. These Morganites come to us from also Mozambique, just like the last zircon we looked at. This is a match pair. Really a nice match pair because most Morganites are very, very light in color. It's hard to get much saturation in them. And this pair has a real nice saturation of color, really good shape. So this is a pair that you can do as a match pair of earrings. You can do a pendant and a ring. So there's a lot you can do with it. And this long pear shape, no matter what you do with it, from just doing it plain, doing it diamonds around, doing a fancy design with it, they always come out to be a unique look. We have very good success with this shape. These Morganites weigh 12 karat 21. They have a appraised value of $4,880, and our price is $2,550. Morganite was named after J.P. Morgan, the financier. And it's an interesting story. Some of you have probably heard it, but Tiffany and Company, the president of Tiffany Company was Coons. And Coons promised J.P. Morgan, who was a big customer of theirs, that he would name a stone after him one day. So kunzite came out. It wasn't called kunzite at the time, but Coons went ahead and named it after himself. Kind of got into a predicament with J.P. Morgan, but fortunately another stone came out, Morganite, and he named it after J.P. Morgan. So good hard stone, durable. You can put it in rings and put it in any piece of jewelry, and you're not going to have issues with it. So we have a viewer question. Jeffrey, what's the question?
All right, so Mr. Mac Attack wants to know, how do you decide what cut to use with a lot of these gemstones? Well, with any gemstone that you cut, how do you decide?
Well, the first thing you do, you look at the rough and figure out where the problems are, inclusions that are in it. And, I'll generally sit down and I'll cut away the problems, and you see what's left and make your determinations on a cut. What's going to get you the best yield, what's going to get you the most brilliance. So you pretty much work at it from problems first, and then see what's left and try and figure out a cut that'll work for it. Different types of stones will work better with different types of cuts. But mostly you're trying to maximize your yield, maximize brilliance. A lot of cutters will cut stones and only think about maximum yield. Our view is not maximum yield. Of course, you want as much weight as you can get, but we cut for brilliance. So if I have to waste material to get a more brilliant stone, we'll do that. The cutting for us is all about the brilliance of the stone more than anything else. And we have lots of videos on YouTube about these factors of cutting and what to cut. So if you can take a look on MoreGems.com on YouTube, you'll find a lot of videos about cutting. And here's a nice piece of rough for Morganite. This particular material has come from Ethiopia recently. And we'll see one stone I've cut out of this material later in the show. Ethiopia is a brand new producer of the material. And I believe Ethiopian material, to my knowledge so far, is not enhanced for color, as many of the sources are. So our next stone is a Peridot. And this Peridot is an opposed bar cut. Kind of a unique shape for an opposed bar. So the opposed bar is something I've cut for many years, but a friend of ours, Jordan Wilkins, has really popularized this cut again. He's been cutting them, and a lot of people look at it and go, "Oh, that's a brand new cut," but it's been around forever. But he's done a good job at popularizing this material. And the opposed bar cut does really well. Some people call it a pixel cut because of the way it reacts with the light. It just kind of makes little flashes of light run across it as you rotate the stone. So it's a real pleasant stone to own because you just kind of play with it and you can see just how the colors run across it. And yeah, you can see there. So it's a cool cut. It's called an opposed bar because of the way the facets are. Across the top of the stone, there's facets that run like steps across the top, and opposing that on the back are the same type of steps that run the other direction. So you've got steps running this way on top, and on the bottom the steps run the opposite way, which gives you that pixelated effect. You know, this particular stone comes from Pakistan. And Pakistan has produced this material for the last 15 years or so. The first time I saw this material in Tucson, there was a group of Pakistanis who were out in just some far out hotel because Tucson is not a show. It's 40 and currently 50 different shows. So these people were out in the middle of nowhere where minerals were, and a friend of mine and I went out there and we ran across these guys, and they had a stack of peridot. I mean, it must have been 100 kilos of it, you know, just amazing amount. And this was back somewhere in the middle 90s, 1990s, a while back. And that gentleman's name was Muhammad Ali. And he just had some beautiful material. We bought as much as we could at the time. It lasted in quantity for maybe 5-6 years and then has dwindled ever since. And now the availability of the same material from Pakistan, you know, maybe I get 15-20 stones a year. You know, so production is way down and prices are up significantly from what they were at the time. So this particular stone weighs 5 carat 40, and as you can see, it's $9.90 is our price on it. And again, if you go to the website and use Gems Live as a coupon code, you'll get an extra 15% off this. You know, really cool stone. You know, the big advantage of the Peridots is their color. You know, this material used to only be available from Arizona, and the Arizona material was much more yellow in color. Most people that had their birthstone said, "Oh, I just hate my birthstone." You know, but these days, people, it changes their mind when they see a Pakistani peridot. They're just really a beautiful color. And another viewer question, Jeff. What's the question?
All right, so I believe her name is Dakota. She's asking about this opposed bar cut and if it works for quartz, because she has an amethyst that she wants to cut this way. What are your thoughts on that?
You got to repeat that. Truck went by. I couldn't hear it.
No problem.
Sorry.
So Dakota wants to know about the opposed bar cut. She wants to know if it works for quartz because she has an amethyst and she looks like she's a gem cutter and she's looking to cut an amethyst that way.
Yeah, it works real well with amethyst. Yeah, I would recommend it highly. You just have to use a little steeper angles when you cut amethyst as opposed to other stones, but no reason not to do it in quartz. I'm not sure. I haven't done quartz, but I will in the near future. You know, good suggestion. I don't know if did I show this, Crystal? So here's what the Pakistani peridot crystals look like. You know, you don't typically see these crystals, you know, and a lot of these crystals I'm showing you are available on Mineral Mike, which is Michael's website. He does mineral specimens, and this is one that's available on there. Really a beautiful specimen. You just don't see peridots with the termination like this very often, but it's just beautiful color. And our next stone is a tourmaline. This is an interesting stone because I was digging through some boxes and I found this piece of rough attached to a dop. A dop is what we put in the machine to hold the stone when we cut it. And this stone's probably been dopped up since the early 2000s. Because I bought this material in the late 1990s. I used to show at the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, and I showed at the biggest show, which was the Holiday Inn at the time. And during setup, this Nigerian woman walks in with her daughter, and she's setting up right across from me, and she's got 2 foot lockers. You know, most people don't know what foot lockers are anymore, but they're just like a big suitcase that probably holds 4 cubic foot of material, which is a lot of material. She had 2 of these full of this Nigerian tourmaline. So it was like heaven. Before the show started, I had a chance to go through everything and just pick out some great material. And she was there for 2 years, and then after that, this Nigerian source pretty much dried up. And we haven't seen much of it at all since then. These are interesting because there's no treatments. They're not heated. They're natural color. Most of this pink material has either been heated and like rubelites are radiated to color, but these are completely natural. So this is a stepped antique cushion cut that I did just a couple of weeks ago. You know, I've had a lot of time to cut while we've been dealing with this virus, which has given me something to do, and I've got a lot done, and this is one of them. Really beautiful stone that has a unique color shift. I don't know, do we have the 2 pictures of this, Mike?
Online, but not.
Okay, if you look online, you can see the color shift, and color shift is the change of color in different lights. So if you look in incandescent light, this will have a peachier color. And if you go to daylight, it's a much more violet red color. So there's a shift in color with the different wavelengths of light. You can see this in stones like alexandrite and tanzanite do this fairly dramatically. Color shift is not quite color change like you'd see in an alexandrite, because alexandrite can change from red in incandescent light and go to green in daylight. So that's a complete color change. These are color shift, just gives you something interesting as you go from light to light. This particular stone weighs 2.73 carats, praises at $819, and our price is $546. And again, Coupon Live will give you our Coupon Live, Gems Live, our coupon will give you a 15% off that price. So what's another viewer question, Jeffrey?
Yes.
Hopefully an easy one for me.
This is very easy.
Okay.
So Alexander wants to know, for this stone, but for a lot of the stones that you cut, how long does it take?
Okay. Generally, from 3 to 10 hours is generally what it takes me. You know, that tourmaline was probably 3 hours or a little more. The bigger they are, the longer it takes. You know, I've had stones, I cut a 300 carat ametrine. Probably took me 40 to 50 hours to finish that stone. But I'd like to think generally 3 to 5 hours for most stones. There are a lot of difficulties you run into problems when you're cutting and have to recut, so that adds to the time. But that's generally the time frame. Some of the bigger tanzanites I do can be into the 8-10 hours because they're so valuable. You have to spend a little extra time trying to maximize weight, get the polish right, and
Okay. Well,
Thanks
a
for the
follow-up
question.
from me.
Uh-huh.
Then, because you've been cutting for so long, if I was just getting into the game, how long would it take me to maybe cut something like that?
Oh, I think a lot of cutters spend 15, 20 hours cutting a stone. I talked to, it for many people, it just takes a long time. I've been cutting so long and cut so many stones, you do get quicker at it. You learn a lot of shortcuts. And again, online on YouTube, we have complete cutting videos. We have a whole series of video that'll take you through the entire process of cutting, and you can actually learn to cut from the videos that we provide. I really wish I had that when I started. Would have been very helpful to have somebody go through every step of how to cut a stone. So if you want to go on YouTube, you can learn a little about cutting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So here's a tourmaline crystal. This is actually one of the Nigerian crystals that I bought back in the old days. This is one I've kept. So this is natural color. And it'll cut a nice stone. It'll cut an emerald cut because of the shape. And tourmalines, you can generally identify them by these lines that run down them like this. Very typical of a tourmaline. The colors in these stones are different. This axis will be a different color, a shade different than what this is. It'll be more red on this axis than this one. But a nice crystal. Probably cut a 7-8 carat stone. Hopefully I did everything for that stone. Price is $546. Until you put a coupon code on it, it'll be less. So the next stone is an aquamarine. This aqua comes from my favorite source and my favorite country to travel to in the world. This is from Madagascar. Madagascar is a place I traveled from 2001 until 2008. Me and a friend, Jim Feebig, we traveled together for 20 years, and both of us, this was our favorite place. He tried to move his wife there, and they stayed there for about 6 months. That's about all longer she could take it, but understandable. It's a somewhat difficult place to be, but just an extraordinary place. I have a degree in biology, and to be in Madagascar and have my love of gems satisfied, and an island where 75% of everything that exists there, both plant and animal, only exists there. Nowhere else on the planet can you find those. It includes the lemurs and hissing cockroaches, which are huge, and a lot of cool animals that are there. And so I enjoyed travel there very much. And this is one stone that I could always be assured of finding there. Madagascar has the greatest variety of colored stones of any place I've ever been. They just don't have a lot of it at any time. So sometimes it's difficult to find material you want, but I could always find aqua. This material we picked up in Tucson from a gentleman from Madagascar, and he has been dealing in aqua for a long time, and he says that the supply of aqua from there is getting more difficult, as is typical of all supplies. Most things they find them, and some things within 6 months, a year, they're gone. Some things last much longer, but typically most of the sources are finite and will run out eventually. So hopefully that's not true of these aquas, because they really have a beautiful color. The aqua is just a pure blue. Many sources have a secondary gray color or secondary colors that are not as attractive, but the aqua from Madagascar is by far the finest of any place that I've ever been. This particular stone, it weighs 3.60 carat. Aquamarine is a beryl, which is related to emerald and the Morganites, all the same stones. This is the blue form. This particular stone appraises at $23.40. We have it for $960, of course, less the 15% with Gems Live. The crystals of aqua, this is a crystal that actually did come from Madagascar. And typically you'll find them as broken crystals like this, but they can form perfectly beautiful hexagonal crystals like this one. This is another that's available on Mineral Mike. Just a nice, beautiful blue color with good termination. But this pear shape, again, like the Morganites, it's easy to mount this and make a beautifully attractive piece. I mean, when you set these long stones, you can put them in rings or pendants, and they always make a unique look just because of the shape of them. This stone's just really well cut. The cutters in Madagascar have been very good, and it's partially due to a friend of mine who was deeply involved in the training of the cutters over there. They brought over North American cutters to teach them, and the people in Madagascar do a very good job of cutting, as this stone is an excellent cut, really well polished, just a beautiful color. And our next stone is an opal. This comes from Ethiopia. I'm pretty much opalholic. I buy opal like I can't live without it, which is pretty much true. This material that came out of Ethiopia is just truly incredible material. Large sizes. We've got stones up to 80 some carats. The colors are extraordinary. I mean, they're just such vivid rainbow colors. And a lot of stones, you get the full rainbow of colors in them. And a piece like this is a faceted opal. And most opal are not suitable for faceting. But this material is transparent enough that faceting actually works. And as you look at this as it rotates, you'll see those reddish flashes like right there. And this has nothing to do with play of color like you expect out of opal. This is from the faceting of the stone that's reflecting the reddish body color of this piece. So faceting actually has an effect on the stone that's positive. And it's only because of the high transparency. In Australia, they would call this material top crystal, and even their top crystal material in Australia is typically not this transparent. So, you just look at this, and everywhere you look, it's just got beautiful colors, and even throughout, the back of the stone is as beautiful as the front, and we've cut many stones that it's hard to decide which way to set it because they're both so beautiful. And we've made pieces where you could actually rotate the piece and see both sides of the opal. This opal from Ethiopia can come in, like I say, very large sizes, really extraordinary colors, and much less expensive than material that comes out of Australia. This particular stone weighs 7 carats 71. 980 is the appraised price, and 540 is the sell price on this stone. Sounds too cheap, but and you get another 15% off it with the code GEMS. What's the code? GEMS. GEMS Live. Okay. So the faceted opals are always the quickest to sell for us. So I guess we have another viewer question there, Jeff.
Yes. First of all, once this virus is gone, we're going to have to get you a manicure. Those nails are just looking...
Hey. Nah, I'm guilty of biting my nails, but...
we had a question earlier about if opals are heated, and if so, what is the benefit of that?
No, they're never heated. They won't take heat. Heat will damage them typically. I mean, I do heat them up a little bit when I'm working with them, but heat is not a good thing. I don't think you'll ever find an opal that is heated. They're all pretty much natural. Although some of these Ethiopian opals, you have to be careful because there are a lot of stones that are sugar treated. They're smoked they call it, and it'll turn a low quality white opal into a beautiful looking black opal. It's not a permanent treatment, but it does a beautiful job of making an inexpensive opal look great. So be careful with that. The Wilo opals are the most durable opals. They will take a drop better than any other opal from any other source. They are hydrophane, meaning they like water. They will absorb water like a sponge, which is a great benefit because one of the issues that a lot of Australian opal have, if you buy it from the wrong source, you're going to find that over time, can be a month, can be years, that they can craze. Crazing is drying out of the opal because opals have anywhere from up to 3% water in them. Or that's probably, I'm not sure the number of that, but as they dry out, they form cracks, just like when you look at clay and it dries out, it starts to crack. So that's one of the issues with most opals, but it's not an issue with the Ethiopian. They like water, they can take it on, give it off. The problem you'll have is when you get them wet, they'll lose their color till they dry out again, but as they dry out, the color comes back. So it's a big benefit. It's a little bit of an issue because they'll absorb chemicals, so you have to be careful to avoid getting chemicals like oils and stuff on your opals. You have to be careful with that, but otherwise they're a very durable opal. Jeff, was there another question?
Quite a few questions, but
okay.
opal's popular.
Okay, I agree with that.
Just quick, what your thoughts on the best color of opal and how your thoughts on, though you kind of explained it, but your thoughts Australian versus Ethiopian?
The finest Australian is probably better than the finest Ethiopian. But the finest Australian is very rare and very expensive. I mean, you look at some black opals, they can be 10, 20,000 per carat. And top material from Australia is much more expensive than Ethiopian. And in general, Ethiopian is more beautiful than Australian. I mean, other than the top goods in Australian, Ethiopian will vie with Australian opal, in my opinion. And the price is a huge difference. What is Ethiopian for 100 a carat? Australian, it's 250, 300 a carat, and can be more difference than that. And the finest of Ethiopian is amazing. I'm not sure that in the finest stone that Australian is any better than Ethiopian. But there's a wide range of material. There's a lot of Ethiopian on the market. You can buy Ethiopian for $10 a carat. They're still pretty, but they're just not great stones. The great Ethiopian material is a very small percentage of the material that comes out. I get people complaining about paying $100 a carat for Ethiopian because they see it for 10. But like any other stone, the finest demands the price, and there's very, very little of that really top Ethiopian material, just as there is in Australia. But my choice is Ethiopian because it's more available. There's red colors that you have a hard time finding in Australian material. It's just the source that's available now. It's a better price, and overall quality, I think, is better than what's available in Australia. What was the other half of that question?
Well, I think you answered both of them.
Okay, thanks.
We're good.
Okay. So you saw this piece of rough, and this is an amazing piece of rough too. and this may come out as a black opal, which we do get blacks out of Australia. They're generally a little brownish black, but anything with a deeper base body color is considered black. And stones like this often will look fairly black when cut. And the next stone, maybe the rarest stone we have tonight, is a highlight opal. This material was discovered in 2014 in Zacatecas, Mexico. And by 2016, it was gone. We've dealt with the miners of this material since probably 2015. And we saw them for the last time, this time in Tucson. We saw the owner of the mine, and they have no material. The problem with the mining of it was like a hill, and once they dug down through the hill and dug down through the level of the material, it was just gone. So there's no more of this material. It's totally unique. It's an opal, but it doesn't have play of color. There's no different colors flashing out of it, but it is what's called daylight fluorescence. Daylight fluorescent, here you see it as a fluorescent stone with a UV light. And in regular lighting, it is a very light green color. Under UV, it fluoresces like kryptonite is what people relate it to. Looks like kryptonite because it just glows. The glow is actually caused by uranium. We used to have uranium glass. And under UV, you get a strong fluorescence. This light doesn't really, wrong light, that's right. Get the UV light, and that'll help. There we go. Well, yeah, it's just so bright, it just, it overwhelms the camera. But it fluoresces remarkably under UV light. But again, the rare characteristic of this stone is in daylight it fluoresces. There are very few things that will fluoresce in daylight. We have a lot of stones that fluoresce. We have rubies fluoresce strongly, spinels fluoresce, Marilani mint garnets fluoresce under UV light, but they don't fluoresce in daylight. This is a stone that fluoresces in daylight, and this is what's made it so in demand in the business, because the collectors want something that there's just no other stone, or there are a few other gems, including a fluorite that will fluoresce, but this is material that does a beautiful daylight fluorescence, and this stone is really, really strong in daylight. This is one of the best I've cut. It's clean, very difficult to get this material clean. This is what the crystals look like. Very difficult to get much size out of it because they're little botryoidal. They look like little bubbles, and they're not very big, so it's hard to get big stones out of it. And when you cut them, that botryoidal character runs through the stone, so you kind of get a little wavy look inside of the material. But this particular stone we're showing at the moment is a really, really clean stone for this material. There's no inclusions in it, a little bit of that botryoidal effect in it, but it's clean and remarkably strong daylight fluorescence. I can't show you the daylight fluorescence at this time, but it is shown on the website, and this is the rarest material we have, because there is no more, and it hasn't been found previous. And there's highlight opals out there, but they don't daylight fluoresce. They only fluoresce. So daylight fluorescence is the character that makes this a valuable gem. And this weighs 1.80 carats. This is a pretty big stone, because you'll see 1/4 carat stones online that are $700-800. It's just due to the rarity of this material. This stone appraises I don't know what we don't have an appraisal on it, because there is no way to appraise this stone because there's so little of it. We have it at $24.80, but I can't honestly give you a real appraised value. But the stone, our price is $2,160, and again, 15% off online when you put the coupon code in. So unique stone. You're not going to see this around. You know, some people worry about wearing it because it has uranium, and it is slightly radioactive. But it is the radioactivity that it has produces mostly beta and alpha rays, which are non-penetrating. They'll penetrate very little into the skin. We have generally made these with a metal plate behind the stone, just close off the back of the stone to protect the skin from any radiation that may be there. Any articles you read about it in the journals will say there's no issue with the material and the low level of radioactivity that's involved. But, you know, that's up to you to determine. But unique stone, and just one of those that we've probably got 4 or 5 more pieces that we can cut carat stones or better. We did cut one that was a 7-carat stone that actually we did a video on, and it was interesting because we were out in Tucson the day afterwards, and the next day it had 1 million views, you know, which was kind of amazing. But anyway, this is highlight opal. And the next piece is a blue topaz. Blue topaz is another stone that the color is formed by irradiation. All the blue topaz, most all the blue topaz you see on the market is enhanced to color. This is a Swiss blue. Swiss blue is probably the most popular color. This is enhanced with the use of a cyclotron, so no residual radiation. And here, give you an idea of the size of the stone. This one weighs 17 carats. And this is another of the opposed bar cuts. This one really worked well because topaz has a pretty good high refractive index. So the pixel cut, you know, it just works real well. This material it comes from Brazil. And again, here's the back of the stone. So opposing bar cuts is what produces that brilliance. This particular stone, it's $850 appraised value, $590 is our price, and 15 off with Gems Live on our website, MoreGems.com. So really a beautiful stone, low price per carat. I can only cut bigger stones because this stone probably took me the 5 or 6 hours to cut it. So I can't quite make what my plumber makes cutting this material, but it's well worth it just because of the beauty that you end up with. It's really hard to beat the color of topaz. There's not much that has a more beautiful blue color than this gem. Here's what the rough looks like. This, of course, is a tumbled piece of rough. They tumble the rough just to show the color better. You can see that inclusion there, which is one of those things you cut away before you determine a cut. And here's a large natural piece, much lighter, but this is natural color. You know, this is something you don't see very often. This is a stone we're gonna cut for a video one of these days. We were going to do it for a couple years, but really a beautiful crystal, somewhat of a crime to cut it, but really a cool piece, and it's going to cut a beautiful light blue stone. This will end up 2 stones, one probably 300 carats and another maybe 100 carat. But that's a piece of topaz rough. This weighs 1,000 carats. We were talking about density of material, and this is very, very dense material. So and our next stone is an amethyst. This amethyst came to us from Rwanda. Rwanda produced this material back in 2016. A friend of mine purchased a couple kilos of the material when it came out, and within months it was gone. When I cut the material, as soon as I cut the first stone, I called him immediately and asked him if he had any more of it. He didn't, but he sold it to another friend of ours, which I called immediately and managed to pick up another half kilo of the material because it's extraordinary. It's absolutely the finest amethyst I have ever seen from any source, and I've cut material from Zambia, from Brazil, from Madagascar, but the color of this stone is special, and it's mostly because of the pleochroism. Pleochroism is it's showing two colors or showing multiple colors. And this in different lights can show reddish or it can show bluish violet, and they're very deep colors. So, you have to be wary of where you wear this because you wear this in a dark location, it's just going to look black. But in the right lighting, this material is just very special. We cut quite a few stones and we started putting them online, and the Journal of Gemology, who is GEMA, or the Gemological Association of Great Britain, saw our stones and wanted to get a photograph of our pieces for the cover of the Journal of Gemology. And these are all our stones and a piece of jewelry that Christopher Michael produced in the middle. This large crystal is I still have part of it here. That is the part of the piece. I've cut a few pieces off this, but that's from the cover photo on the Journal of Gemology. But it very special material, lasted a very short time. Unfortunate. There are a couple of sources of the material. Rwanda produced two different mines, and we've bought from the other mine. Very nice material, but just not the strong pleochroism that you see in this gem. This one weighs 16 carats, 65, appraised value 2160, and 1150 is our price. And go online and get 15% off it. It's really a special stone, clean. The cutting that I did on it is just a beautiful step cut. I like doing step cuts. They get me good yield and really produce a lot of brilliance. Quartz is one of those that's very difficult to polish. It's often a problem, so it does take extra time to get a good polish on this material. Our next stone is... Michael, you awake over there? Thank you. Okay, the next stone is a garnet that comes to us from Mahenge and in Tanzania. This source kind of changed the whole marketing of garnet. The whole price structure particularly. They produce colors that do not generally exist in garnets, much lighter colors. They produce pinks and peaches and this purple color. And so the demand for garnet, because of this source, went up dramatically. The prices went up 2-3 times what's typical. But they've always been underpriced anyway. I mean, garnet should be a much more important stone than it's been in the past, and it's becoming that because they have beautiful brilliance. The colors are extraordinary. They're good, durable gem. They have everything that a gem should be, and well worth the money. This is a 4 carat 24 at $1,220, so you're looking at $300 a carat, as compared to, when you look at diamonds at thousands and thousands a carat, this is all the beauty that you ever find in diamond, and just a really valuable, rare gem. I mean, many of these garnets are very rare. Garnet does come in almost every color of the rainbow. You get beautiful greens and savarite and Marilani mint garnets and rhodolite garnet, which is much like this material, just doesn't have the purple to it. Peach colors like Malaya garnets, and such a wide variety of stones, beautiful brilliance, good rarity, so well worth owning. And this stone is a stone that's very popular right now. The cut, the square cushion is probably the most popular cut in the business at this time. Anything square. We've been cutting perfectly square stones, and this cushion cut just are popular at this time. The Mahenge source is pretty much played out. Very little material from that source in Tanzania at this time. We hope we'll see more, but not likely, as with most sources. This is a piece of rough. You can see the purple color to it. And much of the rough that you get in garnet is this broken up crystals. But this is a beautiful stone. It's going to cut a really great one also. And the next stone is really become our specialty, and that's Tanzanite. We got a question.
All right, before we get into the Tanzanite.
All right, Jeff.
This was a couple questions about this. It's kind of off topic from the stones you talked about, but it's just a general question about what your thoughts are concerning emerald from Afghanistan versus Colombia versus Brazil, the different sources. Can you talk to that at all?
That's a tough question. I haven't dealt with too much from Afghanistan. There are some beautiful colors both there and from Pakistan. Colombia is the source that people know the best. All of these sources, the best of the materials are really beautiful emeralds. They are somewhat different in color, but I think you'll find that any of the sources produce beautiful gems. The best of what those sources has, including Ethiopia, which is a new source for emerald, and we've cut a few of those stones. And the unique thing about Ethiopia is that you can get some stones that are untreated, which is almost unheard of in emerald. I've cut 2 stones over 2 carats that have been completely natural in color, no treatments. Most of the emeralds from around the world are filled with either used to be oils. Now currently we use epoxies, which are much more stable and will last, whereas the oils would dry out. So the advantage of some of the Ethiopian material has been that there's no treatments. Unfortunately, like the Morganite from Ethiopia, they come from the same area, and there's tribal fighting in the area, so there's no mining going on at this time. But all the sources have great colors. Zambia has beautiful emeralds. But which are the best is kind of up to each individual what the color they like. So that's pretty much how I see it.
And one more, with the garnet that we just had. So a few people just asking some questions about that. Is it natural? Is it treated? And how is it different from other types of garnets such as rhodolite?
Natural, all garnet, with maybe the rare exception of demantoid that came out of, I think, Colorado. I had reports that somebody was heating that material, but garnet doesn't take treatments. So all the garnets you see are natural color. What was the last part of your question?
How does the different
Oh,
garnet
different from
compare?
rhodolite.
Yeah.
It's like a rhodolite that you put this violet color in it that just made it a little better. You know, when I originally saw this material, I was in Madagascar, and there's an area in the south that produces the color change garnets in Bikili. And a gentleman, when I was in Lakaka at the time, which is where the sapphires came out of Madagascar, and he came up with these two garnets that were this purplish violet color that just blew me away. You know, they were under a carat stones, but I bought them both and said, you ever find anything bigger, just let me know. Never heard from him, but now we're seeing this material coming out of both Mozambique and out of Tanzania. And it's just a little different color. Just as rhodolites typically don't have the purple that's in these. And that's the modifying color that makes it different than a rhodolite. But they're very close to what a rhodolite is, you know. But if you look at this in person and compare it to a rhodolite, they are different. You know, the purple is different than any other rhodolite that you're going to see. That's it for the questions?
Good.
Okay. Okay, the next stone is Tanzanite. Tanzanite has become half of our entire business. It's the reason I quit going to Madagascar was because I could see the writing on the wall, and Tanzanite was very important, so I started going back to Tanzania. Tanzanite is really a special color. You know, I started going to Tanzania back in, I don't know if it was 94. I don't know. We went to Kenya. Me and my friend Jim went to Kenya, and we went there to buy gems. And when we got there, we found out that the Tanzanian border had just opened up. I mean, up to that time, for decades before that, it was closed to Americans to go in there. We just didn't have good relations with Tanzania. I think we started giving them money, and they opened up, and it just happened to be the week we were there. We had no plans on going to Tanzania. Ran into a friend, Steve Ulatowski, on that trip, and we all got on a bus and went to Tanzania, and it started my love of Tanzanite. You know, it was a really cool trip, and I wish I had the pictures back then to see what Arusha looked like. Arusha is the area closest to the mines. And we went there and did our buying and went back across the border in Kenya and came home. But it was a really great trip and just kind of a surprise to be there for the opening of the border. This Tanzanite, again, like I was talking, these square cuts are what's really popular in the business. It's just the popular cut in diamonds and popular in colored stones. This gem weighs 2.46 or 2.64 carat. Praise value of $23.76. $12.90 is our price, less the 15% for the coupon code Gems Live. This is a size that rough has been available. Things are changing over in Tanzania at this time. They're putting a lot of restrictions on the mining and sale of Tanzanite, because I used to go to the mines and sit there and buy from the miners. But now they've restricted that, and they put you in jail for doing such things now. So this is 2 carat stone, and really just a lovely stone, clean, well cut. Just lively. And you can go to TanzaniteJewelryDesigns.com and you'll see our full collection of Tanzanite. I managed to get a little rough in Tucson to cut, and I've been actively cutting, and I probably have another 10 stones over the next few weeks. If things stay as they are, I'll get a lot of cutting done, and this is really a beautiful stone, well worth owning. And another question.
All right, with the Tanzanite, particularly is that one heat treated, and can you tell us a little bit more about the natural versus the heat treated Tanzanite?
Yes, it is heat treated. 99% of all of them are heat treated. Very rare that you get a stone that's naturally blue. I've had them over the last year, but you don't see them very often because they're usually a brownish color. Can you get this on screen, Michael, the phone? Whoop! Oh, there we go. So this is the natural color of Tanzanite as it comes out of the ground. You can see the blue in that direction. You can kind of see a little purplish. So it has three colors in it. You can see the yellow there too. So it's blue, purple, and yellow. When we heat them, the yellow leaves and just leaves the blue and the purple. And that's what gives us the color we're used to. So you really don't have much option to buy natural stones. You'll see naturals on our site that are the brownish color, and they'll have a little bit of blue flash, and we have one big stone that has a full rainbow of colors that comes out of it, but the body color is brown. So the people that want blue, you're almost non-existent for a natural stone being blue. I have had them, but we're talking about 5, 10, not even 10 stones in a year. So it exists, but it's not typically available. Almost everything is heat treated to get to the blue color. Hopefully I finished that stone. Our next stone is another Morganite. This is the one from Ethiopia. This came out last year, and my understanding again is that the tribes that in Ethiopia are fighting, and it's right in this mining area where the issue is. So there's no mining going on right now. Hopefully that'll change in the near future because they also find emerald in this area. But this Morganite, the peach color, it's really a beautiful color. And to my current knowledge, they are natural, untreated, this color. But it's such a new source that it takes time for us to find out that for sure. But it is really a unique color. Again, this was the one named after J.P. Morgan. This is, again, a step cut. Just a real lively brilliance of this stone. It weighs 16.26 carats. Appraised value is $7,000. $24.40 is our price. And on MoreGems.com, again, Gems Live gets you 15% off this stone. Very durable material. So you can pretty much do anything. You can wear it every day. It's just a good, hard stone. And like I said before, it's very difficult to get deeper colors in this stone. It's usually extremely pale. This is typically about as dark as you see. And our next stone is another Peridot. These, again, coming from Pakistan. This is kind of a cool cut. Hexagonal, just an original cut. I just sat down and, you kind of sit down and create things as you go. Came out quite beautiful. It's a stone that weighs 5.62 carats, which is about as big as I can get these days. There was a time back in the late 90s when I cut stones that were 70 carats, but it's just not available anymore. This particular stone price is $9.90 on it. And again, it weighs 5.62 carats. And there we go. And our next stone is one of my favorite opals, probably one of the favorite opals I've ever cut, just because it's just a unique piece. Okay. Done playing there, Mike? Okay, thanks. What's unique about it is the stripe that's down the middle of it. It's just crazy. I've never seen anything like it. You know, sometimes you see color bars, which is just little lines that run across the stone. But I've never seen a stripe that ran across stone. It runs both directions. You know, you look at that, you have 3 different patterns of color. And just this perfect stripe that runs down the middle of it. You know, it runs all the way through it to the back of the stone. But just look at the colors that are in it. You know, full rainbow of color, and you know, I just find that just be a special piece. This stone weighs 14 karat 67. Praise price of $3,070 and $2,200 on the stone. But just special piece for a pendant. It would make a really exciting pendant. You know, you could make a ring out of it, but I always feel safer with these opals in pendants, just because they can absorb everything around it, and hand creams and stuff can be an issue. So you want to be a little careful with them, although they are a very durable type of opal. Still, you have to take some care not to get the chemicals and oils on them. Again, on MoreGems.com, you'll see probably 100 opals, and we're working on getting the pictures of them better, because they're very, very difficult to photograph, and we're just getting it down. I think we got this one real well, but we'll start getting all the opals that are on there better pictures, because we really do have an extraordinary collection of opals, and I'll continue to buy them just because I have such a strong passion for this stone. Here's another piece of rough of the opals from Wilo. This is what's called, I've kind of, limb cast. Yeah, kind of lost it there. Limb cast. It is, as it says, it's a cast of a limb, because at one time a tree branch or something was underground. It decayed, left this vacant hole, and it was filled by opal. So this is a cast of an actual limb that was there. I mean, you can see the surface of the limb, the shape of the limb, you know, and just a kind of a unique piece that I'll probably never cut this, just because it is so cool. You know, in Australia, you'll see shells of shellfish that are opal. You'll see crabs that opal has replaced the vacancy that they've left. So opal just basically fills holes. It's hot vapor and liquids that come up and fill voids in the ground is how we form opal. A lot of times it'll just be cracks. They call it seam opal, and it can be very thin cracks filled with opal, or like this, a limb cast. So cool piece. So that's pretty much what we wanted to show you tonight. We're going to try and do this weekly. So watch the More Gems show next week at the same time, and we'll show you some other stones and.
You got any more stones to show us?
Oh, yeah, I have a few more. Okay. If you want to hang around, I can show you a few stones. We don't have the pictures and videos of them, but I'll show you a few more things, because it seems there's quite a few people watching. So, you know, I've got the time. I don't know if you're doing anything. I've seen all the shows that I typically watched everything. So not much else to do, so maybe you can watch me. So here's one I just finished. Oh, got a viewer question.
All right, so this is a question from earlier, and I'm probably going to butcher the name of this, but Dakota, he would like to know if you've ever cut a benitoite.
Benitoite?
Yes.
Yeah.
What you said.
Actually, I've never cut benitoite. It can be a cool stone. I don't see any rough available. You know, it is a very rare stone from San Benito County in California. It's the state stone. Can be a very beautiful stone. It's basically a blue stone that has really good dispersion. So it shows good flashes of color and kind of a unique stone, but I have never cut it. It's one of the few I haven't cut. Would like to, but they don't come very big and they're expensive, you know, but a really cool stone. So.
And we got another one.
Okay.
So this, a few people talked about it, but because we've all went there before, they wanted to know about your experience and the opal mining that we did in Nevada.
Okay. Virgin Valley, Nevada. I recommend it to anybody. Jeffrey loved it. He'd love to go back. You know, it is, there's a few opal sources in the U.S., but this is the most well-known. It's just one small mining area in the northwest of Nevada, out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, literally nowhere. You know, we drove for an hour and a half, didn't see a car, a person, a house.
Dirt roads.
Oh, man. It's kind of a scary place if you have a breakdown. You know, you're kind of stuck with nothing. No phone service, no nothing. But the mining area is really cool. I recommend it highly. You go in, you pay, I think we paid $700 for a load, which is a front loader full of material. And we found a lot of material. You know, the only issue with this material is you got to keep it in water. You know, it's not going to hold up out of water. It needs to keep hydrated, otherwise it'll crack. And I don't know if we can see the color in this. This light may be too bright, but they have really nice color. They're high transparency, and they bring you a loader full, and for two people, a loader takes a day to go through it. And we found lots of material, well worth the $700. I don't think it's going to. Yeah, there you go. I mean, you can see the nice color. This one has an egg in it. That's what those are called. Real common to see in opal. But the colors are really nice in it. I mean, look at that beautiful color. You know, and this is what you get. So when you're mining it, as soon as you find it, you put it in a bucket of water, because in 2 or 3 hours, it'll start cracking up on you if you don't. But it's a fun place to go, and amazing the stars. You know, I think it's such a crime that we can't see the stars like you see out there. But no lights, and just the sky is as amazing as the opals that are from there. Can you see this one, Mike? This one doesn't have as good a play of color, but it has color. But we found a lot of material. You know, it's unfortunate you can't cut it, but hey, if you could cut it, they wouldn't let you mine it, and it'd be too valuable. So well worth the trip. You know, you go out and fly into Reno or Boise and take the trip over there and go mine yourself some opals. So here's a stone I finished today. I think this is called Pharaoh's Eye. I should have the information, because I should give the guy that designed the cut credit, because it's a cool cut. but this is a citrine. Needs to be cleaned off. And this cut about 32 carats. Yeah. I think it's 32 carats, and it's not on our website yet because I just finished it this morning. But it's about a $600 stone, like $20 a carat. You know, nice color. It may be sun sensitive. You may want to keep this out of the sun. There are quite a few citrines that sun can fade them, but otherwise they're stable. This is ammonite, which this camera doesn't do it justice because it has really, really cool colors. Let me see if I can. That's a little better, but it's even better than this. You know, this is a fossilized ammonite. This is known as amylite, which is the gem.
There's one behind you.
Oh. Can I show it? I don't know if I can pick it up. No. So, this is one. This is an ammonite. You know, these guys come from, the ones from the Bear Claw formation, this one with color, is in Canada, and they're 70 million years old is what the age of them is. So they're a fossil that this one has no color, but you see the ones that this was cut from, and the whole surface is just as colorful as that stone. So kind of a unique material. Comes just north of Montana, the Bear Claw Formation in Canada. That stone weighs $29.90 and it's $690. You know, and I'm not sure we can still get you the 15%. I'm not sure what we have to do.
Let's have them email us.
Yeah, you either have to email us or call us. You know, which is calling's a little difficult at this time because we're only here part-time. But if you're interested, get a hold of us and we'll find a way to sell you this stone because it's really, really cool stuff. You know, and this one, a very clean surface. These are usually all cracked up on the surface, but this is a clean material. You know, this is still the shell on the back of this. This is part of the shell. So the material is aragonite, which is like pearl. Same thing that makes a pearl.
Hey, Steve.
Uh-huh.
So is that stabilized? Do they stabilize it?
They do stabilize the surface of this material. You know, for a long time I didn't really realize that until I really started talking to people about it, you know, and I'm not sure exactly what they do to the surface because I've tried cutting this stuff and it just flakes up. So they'd use some kind of epoxy or something on the surface of the material to make it more stable. This next one is so this is a citrine from Uruguay. It's in a Portuguese round cut. And yeah, the picture's okay, but it's more orange than what this picture shows. So the Portuguese cut's probably our most popular cut. It's 161 facets on this cut. This material out of Uruguay has been available for quite some time, but the supply in the past 3 or 4 years has dropped dramatically. Not sure why, but you know, whether the source is depleted or as with many stones, China has controlled a lot of the availability of gems. You know, fortunately, as of late, they're not so much in control, but for a while they just controlled all the pricing of gemstones, thanks to us buying all their goods. But that stone, that citrine weighs 18 karat 31. Our price on it is $820. So another stone that's a fairly low price per carat. A lot of work in that stone because that 161 facets takes a long time to polish. Probably a 5-6 hour stone there.
What's the millimeter size on that?
The millimeter size on this one, I don't have it. It's probably 16 or so. Here's a rarity and a stone that we've been doing well with. Unfortunately, the supplies from Madagascar have dwindled to next to nothing. This is a Sphene. Again, it comes from Madagascar, and Sphene is known for its dispersion, which is a break of white light into spectral colors. Fairly large stone. It's over 16 carats. Good brilliance, and really quite a rare stone in this size. That's why it's appraised value of $12,600. Our price at just over 10 grand.
Show some.
Ah. I don't know, it's not the easiest thing to get this up to show in the... We'll work on this next week and try and get this. Get the use of these cameras down a little better. Let's see.
All right, we got another question, Steve.
Yeah.
Some of the close-ups you've been doing, some people saw the ring that you're wearing.
Uh-huh.
Can you do a close-up and kind of tell people what the
Sure.
stone is? And
So, of course, this is Tanzanite. Nope. Get my fingerprints off it. So I can't remember. This is maybe 12 karat. You know, pretty nice color. And this is a design by Christopher Michael, my nephew that does our designing here. You know,
Should polish it.
well, hey, I wear it, you know, and it's high karat gold. You know, so this is either 18 or 20 karat. So it does scratch fairly easily, but beautiful stone. You know, again, Tanzanite has always been one of my favorites, and I love wearing the stone because in different lights it's such a different color. You know, it has the color of a fine sapphire at just a low percentage of the price. You know, a sapphire that looks like this would be $250,000. I don't know, just some crazy price. You know, and here's a stone that's probably $9,000 or $10,000. So, whoop. Gotta think backwards in these cameras. So. So, and here's a stone that...
nope, not yet.
Oh, a question, I guess.
I'm just going back to some questions that people had. So
Okay.
one gentleman had a question, I believe it was a gentleman, about dopping the wheel of opal, how you do
Uh-huh.
that. Does that make sense?
I use epoxy, you know, just like I do for other stones. And I take them off with a tack is how I separate it later. You know, but they hold up pretty well to dopping and cutting. You know, wheel of opal is always an issue because sometimes you go to cut them and they just split on you. After you're done cutting, they're just never an issue, but during cutting, they can be a problem. You know, lately I've had much better success, and I think I attribute it to my supplier. I think he's got better at buying material from sources that don't have the issue. Wheel opal used to be, when I first started cutting it, 30% of the stones would crack on me. So at the beginning, I was coming home sad. My wife would tell me to quit cutting those stones, and fortunately I kept it up, and I got better at technique, and I think my supplier is actually better at buying the material, because I have very few that crack these days. But I do use epoxies to put them on the top, just like I do other cutting. And again, you can go to YouTube and see the videos on cutting, and I think we have a cutting video for opal. Well, it's a cabbing video. So, same techniques as every other stone I cut. Any more questions there, Jeff?
Not right now.
Okay. So this next stone is a chrome tourmaline. Let me see. And chrome tourmaline we've done really well with. It's the least expensive of the chrome green colors, which includes emerald, savarite garnet, and chrome tourmaline. There is chrome diopside, but not a very durable stone, which chrome diopside is less expensive. But chrome tourmaline is the bargain of the chrome colored stones. Not inexpensive, but still lesser expensive than savarite. Because as a 2-carat stone, this is $1,190. A 2-carat savarite would be $3,000 probably. And I think and this picture shows a little yellower than what it truly is, but really pretty stone, and makes a beautiful ring and a good durable stone also. These come from Tanzania only. There have been reports of other sources that maybe it does come from Kenya, but almost everything we find it comes from Tanzania. And another green stone that we've done well with is Merilani mint garnet. And Merilani mint garnet is a byproduct of Tanzanite mining. To my knowledge, it's the only source that we see this material from. Basically, it's a savarite garnet that's a lighter blue-green color. So it's a grossular garnet. And this stone weighs 2.73 carats. Appraised price of $4,300 and $29.90 is the price. You know, once you get over 2 carat in this stone or savarite garnet, they do get quite rare. So it's clean, bright, just a really really nice color for garnet. Let's see. So this stone is a heliodor. So it's the yellow form of beryl. Heliodor means gift of the sun. Weighs 5 carats 70, and our price is $690 on this stone. You know, nice bright stone, interesting cut. I'm trying to think where this one's from. Can't tell you offhand. You know, I wasn't prepared for these stones I'm showing you now, but this is a pretty stone, pretty cut, make great pendant. Good hardness that you can do it in a ring and not worry about wearing it. And here's another really nice aqua. This one also comes from Madagascar. And again, you can see better videos and pictures of these online at MoreGems.com. Because the iPhone, although it has its place in taking pictures and videos, it is not doing as well as actually how they look. You know, it's pretty stone, but the coloration just shows up better when we use our professional setup. Question? No questions?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Are we continuing?
Sure.
And one more stone, one more aquamarine from Madagascar. These are both kind of cool cuts. Yeah, they're just bright and pretty stones. That last one was our price on it was $39.60. So again, although it's not part of the regular show, we would give you the 15% off. You just have to email us or we'll have to get in contact. This one is, the last one was an 8 carat. This is a 9 carat 45. And our price on this one's $39.90. The appraised price is $87.40. Now this one won't show against this shirt.
So a question on the aqua.
Uh-huh.
Now, some of the aqua looks similar to topaz. How can you tell the difference? Can you tell the difference by looking at it, or do you need some kind of tool?
Well, tools would be the easiest way. There is a great difference in the density, so specific gravity will tell us a difference. Refractometer is always the greatest separation for almost all gems. The refractive index is significantly different. Topaz has a much higher refractive index than what aquamarine does. The refractometer would be best. You know, it's just like stones like this big topaz crystal. You know, if this as a topaz crystal it weighs 1,000 carats, as an aquamarine crystal it would probably be 700 carats. You know, for the same given size. So the density is much different. So that's one other way of telling. But it all takes equipment to separate these out. If the color, you know, many of the topaz, you can just look at the color and you go, it's got to be topaz. But that's not always true. Sometimes they look remarkably similar. So not always an easy separation, but with the right equipment, it's just a very easy separation. Well, Michael, I think that's pretty much all I have. I'll show you one more Mahenge garnet. Did a little different color. This is kind of a pinky peach color. I say another one that came out of Mahenge. Mahenge is an area that was known for its pink spinels. All the fine pink and red spinels that came out of Tanzania came from Mahenge. And then they started finding the garnets. So there was a big influx of miners in there. So we don't know for sure whether the garnets just ran out or the miners of spinel ran them out. Because the value of the spinels is so much greater than garnet that they were trying to protect the area. I've heard that story. So there may be hope that there's more garnet to come out of there, but currently the supply is almost nil just very little of the Mahenge garnets. And these are all pretty much unique colors that didn't come from any other source. So this Mahenge garnet weighs 3.79 carats, and it's a stone that's $985. But a lot of pretty stones. I gave my wife one. I had a 9-carat round brilliant, just a beautiful peach color that nobody would pay me $800 a carat for the stone, so I gave it to my wife. And that stone currently had an offer from another dealer of $2,000 a carat on that stone. So the value of that material just went up dramatically, and rightfully so. It's just a beautiful gem that really the color range has no other stone that looks quite like it, has the brilliance that it does and the full color range. So I want to thank you. I don't know if there's, maybe another question. So
A few questions that came.
Okay.
Some from some gem collectors, some new gem collectors. So 2 questions. If somebody's just getting into collecting gemstones, what would you recommend? And if someone's been collecting for a while, is there anything that they should definitely have in their gem collection?
Well, definitely in a gem collection, how about a highlight opal? Because you're not going to have much longer that you can get one. I think we have most of the material that'll cut over a carat stone. I just don't see much else out there other than what we have. But for somebody that wants something that they may never be able to get again, the highlight opal would be one. And as you get down into carat or under carat stones, they get less expensive because these just don't come big. And we've got some material that's not quite as high a quality, that's a lower price on our website, and we'll have a few more in the future. One thing that we always keep in mind when we're buying is buy what's available, what's new, because the price is generally better when it comes out, when it just comes out. We tend to buy in quantity and buy as much as we can when new sources come out. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is to keep looking for what's new in the market, because often what's here today in a year won't be here. So as a collector, you always got to keep in mind what's new out there and try and get it at the beginning, because the price will be better and you just may not be able to get it in the future. Other than that, just keep in mind buying quality. A lot of people start buying, they buy a stone, and later they want to upgrade. And if you buy it right up front, buy the best you can, you're going to be much happier than just buying a stone because it was priced cheap, or just buy what's cut right, what's pretty. Price, there's a lot of stones. If you don't have a ametrine, you can buy ametrine inexpensively, and there's a lot of stones that don't cost a lot. But just keep your eye on the market, see what's new, and keep an eye on what we talk about, and just buy what pleases you and what fits your budget. Just try and buy quality all the time. Next question.
Yep, another question. So we'll see if you can answer this one or not. But Jacob wants to know, he has a 10-carat red topaz with some bubbles in it. And he wants to know, is it still valuable, or should he recut it?
Red topaz with bubbles in it. Well, when you say red topaz, my concern is it enhanced red? There's a lot of topaz that's out there that's been marketed over the last several years that are coated for color, because a true red topaz is a very, very valuable stone. I've seen some red topaz, and this would be red Imperial topaz that probably now 10, 15,000 a carat. So if it's really red, I'd be concerned that whether it's real or not. A lot of times they take colorless topaz and put a coating on it to alter its color. As far as the inclusions that are in it, If they're obvious and you can cut them out, I always try to do that. Just depends what the inclusions are. You say they're bubbles. If they're round bubbles, then it's an issue. It's not topaz, but cutting them clean if you can is always worthwhile, and generally will always increase the value of the stone. Next question.
Okay, this goes back to with the gem collectors. So when you said, go for quality. So when somebody's out looking for a quality gemstone, and if they're not shopping at MoreGems.com, how do they know if it's a quality stone or not?
Yeah, good luck. There's so much that's treated, coated, synthetic. If you're buying on eBay, good luck. You just really have to find a source that you trust. Check things out, because so much is fraudulent that's out there, and it's not easy to ID. You need to find some equipment. We again have videos on equipment that's used to identify different stones. You can go on Tanzanite. We have a whole video on how to identify Tanzanite, and a lot of that equipment on there is useful in identifying stones. If you're really going to be a collector, you have to have a refractometer, a dichroscope. Would be the first pieces of equipment that I would buy. A microscope, of course, is helpful, but refractometer and dichroscope, a couple $100, you can buy those items on eBay or on Amazon. So those are things that you need to have to identify stones, and learn what you can. But trust your supplier, and don't trust most people. There's just so much fake material out there that the inexperience is going to get taken half the time. Any other questions there, Jeff?
Quick ones, one person asked, is yellow nephrite valuable?
Yellow nephrite. I'm not familiar with yellow nephrite. Yellow jadeite. Again, the jade's very, very difficult to deal with because of the treatments involved. Very difficult to ID. I'm uncomfortable with IDing treatments in jadeite. Takes specialized equipment, and most people are not going to be able to tell whether they're dyed or what type of treatment, because a lot of it's irradiated, just like the lavender jade. Rare material, but there's tons of it out there. What's that about? Well, it's all irradiated material that's out there, and you're not going to be able to identify it. So those are the issues with buying jade and other stones. You really have to have some expertise to know what you're really buying, or trust in who you're buying from.
And one more.
Okay.
So the people that are looking to buy these stones, I know the answer, but can they be, if they're not using them just to collect and they want to have them set in the jewelry, what's the process for them? Can they take it to a jeweler? Can they work with us? What can they do with them?
Yeah, you definitely can work with us, because we do computer-aided design now. We have 2 systems for designing jewelry with computer. We have a system that most of us here in the store can use. It's simplified, doesn't do everything. But we also have my nephew, Christopher Michael, who does computer-aided design. He can pretty much do anything. So if we have the size of the stone, shape of the stone, we can design a piece of jewelry without you even being here. So it helps to have the stone in our hands, but we can give you quotes on prices to design and create a complete custom piece for any stone that you might have. Enough questions? All right. Hey, well, thanks for showing up tonight. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you got a little information out of this, and hopefully we can get you to buy something. It's all on MoreGems.com. And what was that coupon code again in there, Michael? So for 15% off, just use Gems Live on MoreGems.com. Again, thanks for showing up. We're going to try and do this regular, so come back next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central Time, and we'll have a new variety of stones. You know, I've cut some new Tanzanites. I'm trying to think what else I'm cutting. I'll have cut another 10 stones probably by next week. And we've got 1,000 stones here to show. So keep showing up, and we'll try and show you something different and exciting every week. Again, thank you for being here. Okay, you have a good night. Be careful out there, and be safe. Okay, thanks again.